All right, from Near Blue Moon Fitness, tough to read, but that's what it says. Today, conceptual video about Dividend. Last video that had to do with some finance stuff, numbers. This one, conceptual. So a lot of people in the comments, if you're not a fan of dividends, that's fine, but a lot of people don't seem to think like they really exist. They seem to think it's like a phantom payment you get, and like if you receive it, then other things disappear. I don't know. Gonna go over some conceptual reasons why I'm a fan. First one, getting right into it, it's a way to diversify within a single company. A lot of people think diversification, it's like, all right, not just stocks, also bonds. Not just a stock in tech, I'm gonna have one in drug making, I'm gonna have one in food and beverage. Okay, that's one way. Dividends are a way to diversify within one company. So imagine two companies, everything the same except one pays a dividend, one doesn't. So one might have a net income of $1 million when the year is over. Cool. What does that company do with that $1 million? And reinvest it in the company. New equipment, more land, an acquisition, give people raises, try to recruit better talent. Okay, cool. They spend $1 million doing all those things. Those decisions might work out, they might not. You have the other company, same net income of $1 million, and they take 400,000 of it, they pay the shareholders via dividends. They get dividend payments. And with 600,000, that company on this side uses that money to buy better equipment, more equipment, have more farther reaching operations. They try to acquire better talent. Okay, so all those decisions, ideally they work out, they might not. So if they don't, at least you got that payment via dividends. And you hope that the rest of the net income that the company had is doing something helpful for the long term of the company, but it might not. So it's a way to lower the volatility a little bit and get some guaranteed money, while also knowing the company has the free cash flow to reinvest in itself. A second thing it does is it spreads out your tax bills over several years. So imagine putting $100,000 into something. Let's go to this side since this was the non-dividend side. $100,000 into a stock that does not pay dividends. And maybe in 10 years, just so the numbers are easy, it's worth $250,000. So you can sell it in 10 years and lock in a profit before taxes of $150,000. Cool. You're gonna have no tax bill related to this in year 1, in year 2, in year 3, etc. Year 10 you will, because on paper you'll be realizing a profit of $150,000. Now you have a company over here, you put $100,000 in every year, so the numbers are easy, you get $5,000 in dividend payments. And then year 10 you sell it and you lock in a profit of $100,000. So year 1, $5,000 in dividends. Year 2, $5,000 in dividends, etc. Year 10 you would have $5,000 in dividends and $100,000 for selling your stake in the company. So year 10 would be $105,000. So you make the same $150,000, but it's spread out. So you don't have that huge tax bill year 10. The $5,000 in year 1 in your dividend payments, that's taxable income. But how much is it changing your tax life? You know, you have your money from probably a primary job on top of that $5,000 from dividends. Probably not pushing you into another tax bracket. Same thing year 2, same thing year 3. And at the end, yeah, you still have a larger bill than the others, but it's not quite $150,000. If you buy a company and just intend to sell it 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you might lock in a huge tax bill and push yourself into another tax bracket and have to pay more in taxes than if somehow the money were spread out over the entire life where you held the investment. Another tax consequence, which is, it's similar but it's different. So say you have a dividend position and you know you're looking forward to 2025. I'm going to get $2,000 in dividend payments from this company. Okay, that's taxable income. So you're aware you're going to need to pay taxes on that. Regardless of what you do with that $2,000, you need to pay taxes on it. You could withdraw it and you could just buy stakes. You need to pay taxes on it. You could reinvest it and buy more shares. You need to pay taxes on it. Even when you reinvest it will be treated like $2,000 of income, and then you spent that $2,000 to buy more shares. From your perspective, it might all be profit to you. You know, I didn't put in any extra money, the company paid me, but the way it's going to be looked at for tax purposes, yeah, you receive this money, it's taxable. You might pay 0% on it, but it's still a taxable $2,000. And okay, if you want to reinvest and buy more shares, you did that. But either way, you need to pay taxes on it. And regardless of what you do with the money, that's the case. So say you planned on reinvesting with that money, but something came up, you really needed $2,000, you decided, okay, this $2,000 I got in these dividend payments from this company, that's just been sitting in my brokerage account in cash, I'm going to withdraw it, I'm going to use that. It doesn't change the tax consequences because you planned on this $2,000. Yeah, you wanted to reinvest it. Instead, you're using it for some kind of an emergency, but either way, you're paying taxes on it. Nothing different is happening. Say you owned a company that didn't pay taxes and you had a lot of shares and it was doing well, the price was increasing great, and this emergency came up where you needed $2,000 and you needed to sell shares of that company in order to liquidate $2,000 so that you could withdraw it from your brokerage account into your checking account and pay for something. Well, you didn't plan on selling shares in that company this year, so now you did, so now you're going to have to pay taxes on that realized profit. So I'm not saying it's going to be like the tax bill is going to be so outrageous that you won't be able to survive, but it changes your tax life in that way. The dividend way, regardless of whether you reinvest the shares, just have the money sit there in your brokerage, or withdraw it and buy something, you knew you were going to have to pay taxes on that going in. So even if you need to use the money, your tax consequences don't change that year. Again, similar vein, although different thing, you have passive income in difficult times. So I think a lot of people who have a stake in a dividend company, they're just planning to hold, reinvest the dividends for more shares, hold for a long time, and many years down the road, do something with it, retire, buy something with it, just use it for even more passive income, whatever. But if you have some kind of an emergency, I'm thinking mostly of like a catastrophic financial event like that hit everybody, 08 housing crash, the first few months after Corona. 2020 actually turned out to be a great year in the market, but the first few months after it is passive income. So even though your plan is probably to use that money to reinvest and buy more shares, you don't need to. So say you had a lot of dividend positions in 2008, the housing crash happened. If you put your research in and you had shares of really quality dividend companies, those companies did not cut the dividend amount. They did not erase it totally. Some of the worst companies do. They have dividends really as just a marketing tool to attract new investors, but they really don't have the cash flow on hand to pay it if anything poor happens. And a lot of companies in 08 couldn't keep paying the dividend. Great companies did. Coca-Cola is one of them. There's a large list of other companies that did. The housing crash didn't make it such that Coca-Cola didn't continue to pay dividends, and didn't make it such that Coca-Cola couldn't continue to raise the dividends year to year. So when something tough happens in the financial world, you still have that passive income coming in, and if you need to stop reinvesting for more shares for a few months, for a year, for a couple of years, and you need to use that money for something, at least you have it. And these are great transitions, because in that same vein, although something different, fifth thing, final thing, is that when you're reinvesting as the stock price decreases, it's not that bad of a thing. So first, non-dividend company, you buy shares, you hope the price increases. When it decreases, you're not feeling too great about it. Hopefully you're looking long term and it's not bothering you that much, but like you're just waiting. It's a waiting game. Okay, eventually things will turn around, it'll go back up. The dividend company, even when the stock price decreases, if you're still reinvesting the dividend payments for more shares, at least you're accruing more shares. Say you get a $100 dividend payment and the share price is $100 and you reinvest it. Okay, you got one additional share. Cool. Say the price slips. Now you're still confident long-term in the company. This is a temporary thing, but the price drops to $80. You get later that year that same $100, another $100 dividend payment. Well, now the share price is only $80. So when you reinvest that $100, you don't just get one additional share, you get 1.25 additional shares. So when the price goes down, there's still some solace in knowing the money you're receiving in your dividend payments reinvested is going to get you more shares. It's not that bad of a thing. I actually, in 2020, right before things started crashing and shutting down in March, it's kind of at the end of like researching the dividend plan and like calculating some projections and put the plan into place. Things crashed. I didn't care that much because I wasn't worried things would just crash forever and we would like go back to the Stone Age. And I was still receiving dividend payments that I had been receiving, in the previous quarter, and the prices were lower. So I was getting a lot more shares for my dividend payment, and I was not terrified about it. And eventually things turned around. So when you have a company that doesn't pay dividends, things go down, and like that's it. There's nothing else. I mean, you could put your own money into it and buy more shares at a cheaper price, but in the dividend scenario, you don't need to put your own money back into it. You're just consistently getting these dividend payments, and when the price goes up, cool, you have more shares and at a higher price. And even when the stock price goes down, you still have more shares and you're getting them for cheap. And then when things turn around and go back up, now you have more shares going up than you would have had otherwise. And remember, rice is a spoon food.